Is Dak being overvalued with this long-term contract?
I don't think so. I think that it's a situation where look where he is. You're Jerry Jones. You waited. You are what the market says you are. And in this particular instance, it's the year 2021. Obviously, the salary cap has been increasing. We know how COVID has compromised the NFL season, and the compound fracture of his right ankle. We were expecting that to be something so debilitating that it would definitely compromise his ability to get a long-term deal. But Jerry Jones finally came to his senses and paid the guy, as far as I'm concerned, what he's worth. I was along a range of like 38 million or whatever, but at this point in time, 38, 40, what does it matter when you consider the television contracts that are coming down the pike, how the salary cap is expected to elevate and soar in the years to come? It pans itself out. In the end, I'm not going to sit up there and say he's overvalued because I see how horrid the Dallas Cowboys were last season without him. Andy Dalton wasn't the answer. That offensive line wasn't the answer. Ezekiel Elliott wasn't the same. Amari Cooper, Michael Gallup, CeeDee Lamb, even though he was a rookie, none of them looked as good as they looked when Dak Prescott was in the game, was playing for them for the first 4.5 games of last season. Mike McCarthy didn't look as good as a coach. Kellen Moore didn't look as good as an offensive coordinator. The defense, particularly against the run, was non-existent. Dak Prescott departing from that locker room due to his injury had such an incredibly debilitating effect on the franchise that in and of itself elevated his value. We can't just look at it and say, excuse me, these are the numbers a quarterback should get or shouldn't get or whatever. It's about what you mean to a particular or respective franchise. And in that regard, seeing what the Dallas Cowboys were with him compared to what they were without him, there is no question in my mind he's not being overvalued.
Of course he's being overvalued because it's a next man up league. And unless that next man up is Patrick Mahomes, if he's resetting the market or just about, because we could have a debate about who has a better deal, Patrick Mahomes or Dak Prescott. Mm-hmm. Think about that for a second. Mahomes just did his deal. Unless you're the best guy in the league or one of the top 2 or 3, you're going to be overpaid. And Stephen A., when you say the market, you are what the market says you are, that's an unrestrained market. But this market is constrained by the CBA, which is in place in order to make sure the players don't get paid what they're worth. There are all kinds of mechanisms and devices and nonsense to keep the players' salary down. But what that does is actually warp the market. So in a quarterback crazy league, hard cap quarterback crazy, with a franchise tag, right? The franchise tag's there to give the team control, but also the players some flexibility, at least some money if the team won't, pay him long term. The franchise tag, which counts all against the cap that year, and it's the average of the top 5 salaries, is paying Dak this year, all in this year it would have paid him, as though he's a top 5 quarterback. But actually the average of their salaries, not just like the 5th best one, but he's not. He's not the 5th best quarterback. He's not in the top 5 anywhere. He's probably in the top 10, and maybe he's heading toward the top 5, but so far, is he worth that money? No. As a matter of fact, to the Cowboys, he had all the leverage in this negotiation because Jerry Jones bungled it so badly along the way that finally we got to the 11th hour, and the Cowboys are like, we need some cap relief. Okay, here's the 4-year deal. Dak Prescott is just good enough so that his team doesn't want to let him walk out the door. Because as I told you yesterday, the NFL's divided into haves and have-nots. Either you have a quarterback or you don't. The Cowboys believe they have a quarterback. They don't want to lose him. The franchise tag made it ridiculous to franchise him again this year, so Dak had the leverage. That's different than saying he's worth it. They now have a team that's not ready to win the Super Bowl, few financial resources to make the team better, and the team needs to be much better.
Okay, let's go down the list, Max Kellerman, because you sit up there and you talk about next man up. Who's the next man? Patrick Mahomes ain't going anywhere. Lamar Jackson's 24 years old. He's in Baltimore. He ain't going anywhere. Aaron Rodgers is 36, 37 years of age. He wasn't going to Green Bay. Russell Wilson's 32 years of age. He was thinking about going somewhere else, but obviously the Seattle Seahawks would have to comply to some degree in order for him to go. So the likelihood is that he's not going anywhere. So when we say next man up, who's that next man that Jerry Jones could go out and get to replace Dak Prescott? I'm sorry, it ain't Mitchell Trubisky. It ain't Nick Foles. Who the hell is it? It ain't Big Ben Roethlisberger. Not that you would want that. I mean, who is it? Is it Jalen Hurts? Is it Carson Wentz? Who is it?
Could have been Russell Wilson. Could have been Deshaun Watson.
You could say it could have been Russell Wilson, but okay, I'm going to give up this money to make sure I can keep Dak Prescott, even though he doesn't count debilitatingly against the cap because of the way the deal was structured, and it's a relatively short-term deal in the grand scheme of things. We understand all of those nuances that come along with this contract, which is why, to some degree, we can't completely crucify Jerry Jones for what he ended up paying out, because he thought he definitely bought himself some cushion. My point to you, though, is this. When you look around the league, who are you getting? Because if you went out and you got Russell Wilson, what would you have had to give Seattle in order to get Russell Wilson? So when you say next man up, I'm saying for the Dallas Cowboys, there was no next man.
Well,
and that's why you were in a pinch, because you waited too long. There was no next man. You squeezed yourself, which you articulated on several occasions about Jerry Jones, which is why you accurately made the prediction that Dak Prescott would get signed to a long-term deal, because Jerry Jones put himself in a corner. You have to look at stuff out there. You saw there were no real options for you, which is why you had to end up giving Dak this money. Thanks for watching ESPN on YouTube. For live streaming, sports, and premium content, subscribe to ESPN+.